multiple entrances all the way down 652.
The entrances for these parcels are as shown on this GDP.
Okay.
There are limitations on entrances that the board accepted on the other parcels as on the other industrially zoned parcels. So yes, we actually have limited the number of entrances along 652 to discourage multiple entrances. All that was tied to the traffic impact analysis and the need to update the TIAs. But the board has limited in all of these zoning applications the number of entrances on the 652.
So the 652 entrance, and where is it in relation to 82A123?
82A123 can have its own entrance. It's an existing lot of record and can have its own entrance. But the other two parcels, you can see, and it should be in your packet.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time figuring out where that actually is.
It is about 600 feet south of the intersection of the old Ruther Glen Road and Carmel Church Loop.
Before, if I was coming from 207, I would get to that entrance before I got to McKesson.
No.
I would get to that entrance after I got to
McKesson.
No, this is the new site.
As he's designated the two entrances, they're basically splitting the property line. So they're going to share an entrance.
Do you recall where Mr. Taylor used to live, Ashton Taylor?
Right, on the right.
There's a one-story brick rambler on the east as you're traveling south on 652.
Right.
From the visitor center going towards Reggie's house.
Right.
The house on the left.
Single-story brick rambler on the left-hand side. It would be about 200 to 300 feet south of that property, of that brick rambler.
Okay, let me rephrase the whole question then. How close are the two entrances to 82A124?
Repeat the question again.
124 is her property.
How close? Right, because that's that's basically at the intersection.
Okay.
How close?
The entrance on Ruther Glen Road is about 500 to 600 feet south of the loop road that goes back to Ms. Kay's property.
That's what I thought it was.
Right.
Here. Okay.
There's a hunting.
There is an access.
Road, yeah.
There is another proposed entrance off of Patterson Avenue that would be about 200 feet from the intersection of Patterson Avenue and the old Ruther Glen Road, where Ms. Kay's residence is. But the actual access off of Ruther Glen Road would be 500 to 600 feet south of the intersection of Carmel Church Loop and the old Ruther Glen Road.
652 side.
Right here.
That's where it's going to
I figured there.
And it would be a common drive for those two parcels. So all development on that 28 acres would have to use, if they were coming out on the 652, would have to use that common entrance. They don't get multiple entrances. They get one on the 652.
So actually, there's just a small piece of, and I'm just getting to the front yard. I'm just trying to lay out the boundaries here for myself. There's a small piece of what we will call front yard that faces Ruther Glen Road and sort of Patterson. Right here.
You're talking where the entrance is, right above or right below 715?
That whole section along Ruther
Right,
Glen
I'm just
Road
looking at what they're calling
is
front
considered a front.
They're considering this front.
Yeah, but nobody else that. That's just one.
No. But what I'm saying is this will be front yard
That's
For them.
for that site.
development. Right. That's correct.
Right.
Under
Right.
where it says 715.
715 would be.
The
It's
whole
all
seven
frontage.
fifteen piece. And I was just looking at the bigger map to put it into context.
All of 715, all of 652, that would be considered a front yard.
Okay.
Okay?
I know every business wants a sign on what they think is their front yard. I mean,
Understood.
I get it. I was just looking at, so there will be no entrance onto Patterson Road, though?
Now, there's one
There already
entrance.
one there.
One.
Right here. It's right there, right there.
Right under the word 715 on the map, right under the word that says 715, that's where the
Okay.
entrance is.
One off Ruther Glen Road.
652,
Ruther Glen Road.
Common Church Loop.
Ruther Glen Road.
Okay.
Common Church Loop. Mr. Seeley, you done?
Big difference in both. Ruther Glen
I'm done for the minute.
Okay, well, we're getting ready to move on here.
I
so-
understand.
All right, no other questions? All right, since this is in the Mattapan District, I've spoken to Mrs. Kay and Mr. Shia today. And again, during our meeting, we're trying to make sure that we allow Mr. Shia a chance to have a business. He doesn't have a prospect there now, but this rezoning helps him get a prospect. And also, I'm going to work with him to make sure we protect Mrs. Kay and the neighbors in that area. So having said that, I sure would appreciate a motion to approve special accept, or RZ 03 2013.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve RZ 03 2013 R207 LLC.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Underwood. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Fincham, Mrs. Kay, and Mr. Shia. We will see you again soon with the groundbreaking announcement. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, 9:45.
Let's push on.
Mr. Watts here?
Yeah, he's right over here.
Heck, I can't see it. Wait. Okay. And the fair people are here. All right. Let's roll. Mike, we're going to do these. Well, we're going to do at least one. I'm over 50, so I have issues. Mr. Fincham, RZ 04 2013, 17431 Jefferson Davis.
Mr. Chairman, your next rezoning request is RZ 04-2013, 17431 Jeff Davis LLC owner. Watts, Mr. Gary Watts applicant. They're requesting a rezoning from B1 business conditional to B1 business conditional. Proffer amendment to amend previous proffers associated with RZ 12-2006. In 2006, when this original property was zoned B1, there were a number of conditions or proffers that the board accepted with that rezoning. There was a very detailed development plan, and I will use the example of Ladysmith Commons, with fairly stringent architectural standards and design standards related to that site. At that time, it was the then owner's intention to use the existing building for 5 years and then to demolish that building and build roughly 30,000 square feet, I believe, of office and retail space on that site. Market conditions did not allow that redevelopment to occur. And market conditions currently do not allow that intensity of commercial development on that site. The applicant is requesting that that 5-year limitation be amended to allow him an additional 5 years from the date of approval of the zoning amendment if the board does amend the zoning to comply with that condition and to allow him to continue to use the existing structure during that time. So this is in a nutshell, the proffer amendment is to request an additional 5 years from whatever date of action to utilize the existing structure, and then would be subject to those to the additional development standards. That's it in a nutshell.
Basically a time extension. Questions for Mr. Fincham? Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We will declare the public hearing for RZ 04-2013 to be open. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Mr. Watts, good to see you up closer where I can see you now.
Thank you, sir. Gary Watts, representing Jeff Davis, LLC, and basically it was spoken in a few words by you. It's basically just an extension. I appreciate the staff and the board and everyone considering this. I obtained it at auction, and I want to do what's best for the area right there as far as the traffic flow and all that needs to come in the future. But right now, there's not a plan that's feasible for the area that we're in. So this is the reason for my request. So I'm here for questions.
Thank you, sir. You'll have a seat. Let me make sure we get all the other people who are waiting to speak about this up here, and then we'll ask you questions. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Anyone else would like to speak regarding this matter? Anyone else would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Questions for Mr. Fincham or the applicant at this time? This is in the Madison District, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve RZ 04-2013 as presented by staff for the extension of 5 years to, I believe it's like 2018.
5 years from the date that's approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Seeley. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Good luck, Mr. Watts. Next, we are going to take a break after this one, though. Mr. Fincham, RZ 05-2013, agenda item number 7, Commonwealth Fairs.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing is RZ 05-2013, Commonwealth Fairs and Events, LLC, owner and applicant. They're requesting an amendment to existing proffers on their property, which is zoned planned recreation and entertainment. The proposed request is to amend proffers number 1 and 2 associated with RZ 01-2005. Proffer 1 was a proffer for a development plan which had very specific locations as to uses. Proffer 2, which was also amended last year, related to security arrangements between the Kitty Midway area and the soundstage. That was modifications that were proposed by the applicant last year. If you recall, there were concerns about the proximity. One, there was a movement from the Kitty Midway on the west side of the Farm Bureau Center to the east side of the Farm Bureau Center, and there were concerns about the proximity of the Kitty Midway to the backstage of the concert area. The applicant is requesting modifications to the GDP that would move the Kitty Midway area from where it was last year up to what was known as the livestock area on the east side of the former Union First Market Bank Shares building.
Mr. Fincham, you've mentioned this a couple of times, and we understand what it is, but for the folks that are going to watch and listen later, GDP means what?
General Development Plan.
Thank you, sir. I didn't mean to break your train of thought.
That's fine. The request then would move the livestock area from that location across Route 30 to the area near the equine center. So you would have all your livestock and equine activities on the south side of Route 30. you would have the Kitty Midway moved to the east side of the mansion and the Union First Market building. So the proffer request is twofold. It's one, to allow the modification to the generalized development plan to move those two uses. And then secondly, to amend the security language that was adopted or approved last year because the security issues between the stage and the Kitty Midway area would no longer exist. That is the request before the Planning Commission, before the board tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. For clarity, this would move the Kitty Way further away from residences?
It would arguably move it a little closer to the residents on the east side of the property.
Right, so going from King's Dominion to 301, they're on the right-hand side.
Left.
North, south, east. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure I had the directions right, too. Okay.
The original GDP called for both the adult rides and the Kitty Midway area to be located on the King's Dominion side of the Farm Bureau Center. Last year, there was an amendment to move the Kitty ride on the dawn side of the Farm Bureau Center. This request would actually move the Kitty area again further east on the east side or the dawn side of the mansion and the old or the Union First Market building.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions of Mr. Fincham? Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We will declare public hearing for RZ 05-2013 Commonwealth Fairs Events LLC to be opened. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter?
Mr. Chairman and the board, I'm Jeff Dillon. I'm the president of the State Fair of Virginia.
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you for hearing our request again. I would like to add to what Mr. Fincham has said, but he was so eloquent in what he conveyed to you that I can't add or detract to what he said. I will say that we want to make this move for the benefit of the fairgoers. We think that Kidway move last year was very beneficial to the experience that families had at the fair. The unfortunate aspect of that was that Kidway is still in a very congested area of the fair where it's located at. While it was an improvement, we think moving it to the east side of the Union Hall or the mansion, it will create a family-friendly zone where people can get away from the congestion of the Midway and the bigger rides and have some more room to relax with their small children. Moving the livestock to the south side along with the equine area just makes common sense. And we're putting all of our livestock in agriculture areas and components of the fair in one place. So I don't have much more to add to that, but since Mr. Fincham did such a wonderful job of explaining our motives for wanting to do this, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Questions of Mr. Fincham or the applicant at this time? Mr. Black? Mr. Seeley?
I have none.
Mr. Underwood?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
No.
Mr. Taylor? Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve RZ 05-2013.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Underwood for the approval of RZ 05-2013, seconded by Mr. Akers. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously, and we are going to take a, well, everybody's rushing 10 minutes or 15? There's not that many places. 10. Thank you. We'll be back in. Go
Real
ahead.
quick, hope to make this fairly quick. I've got kind of three issues we want to talk about with the solid waste site. One of them is kind of an update and to make some clarifications. As Mr. Creasy had spoke during public comments, he had some questions and raised some things that we wanted to change and some other things that we've had since we've adopted the Standard Operating Procedures Manual. So in the draft, what you see, it seems that we have created some issues by using Roman numerals, so we removed those and put regular numbers. Some of this, by putting a comma in or a dash, showed up. So when you start looking to the introduction section, that's what that is. Clarification, we used to just say open top containers. Now we've got designated areas also because some things don't necessarily go into an open top container. So we've clarified some of that to make sure there's no confusion there. One of the things that we did early on that we found was that we have quite a few residents that live in Lake Caroline and Lake Landor, and there are a few in Caroline Pines that own property there, but they actually live in Chesterfield, Henrico, or something like that, and then come in. Well, they don't have a county sticker for Caroline County because they own property here, but they don't live here. So we had a bunch of people that were calling getting permits. Talked with Mr. Culley about that, and one of the things that we did is we allowed Lake Caroline stickers and Lake Landor stickers, and somehow we included town of Bowling Green, but excluded the town of Port Royal stickers. So we've added those sticker systems in there for identification purposes to make it convenient for the citizens. Also, we've clarified recyclables as listed in one section. We said here's recyclables, another section said here's what we're going to do and too good to throw away. And some of them, if you read one section, it read one way of what the county recycles, but didn't talk about all the recycling that we do in the other section. So we tried to clarify those to put that information in both locations so when you read that. We changed the tire size, which actually when the board adopted the rate, we actually had changed the tire size to a maximum of 36-inch for free tires, which is anybody 36-inch tires are fairly large tires. Most of the time when you get to that size, you're talking big, truck tires, the pickup truck tires, the big four-wheel drive tires. You're not talking regular residential tires. Anything larger than that will be on tractor trailers and dump trucks, so we've clarified that. Number 6, we've had a bunch of things going on with brush and trying to define brush, and one of the things that we want to talk about in length when we get done looking through the manual is brush and how we handle that. One of the things that we want to do is we used to have brush nothing larger than 6 inches in diameter. Now we've said anything for brush, any diameter. And we used to have log lengths in 18-inch lengths. Now we want to go 72 inches to be able to make it more convenient. The people that are going to be bringing that in, if they can pick up a log that size anyhow, we're going to be able to handle that. So we thought that would be acceptable. It wouldn't really change the way that we handle our current brush. So those are some things that we do. We wanted to add untreated lumber and pallets, any size, because that wasn't in there. People would bring in a piece of plywood that's not treated, and the standard says that it must be no longer than 48 inches and put in the open top. This allows them to bring in untreated lumber and being able to put it into the burn pile, and we're able to burn that. Next page, again, just goes back into tires again to clarify the 36 inches. Came an issue of scrap metal. What's the definition of scrap metal? So we got rid of scrap metal throughout, and we just put metal. So metal is metal. Shouldn't be any discretion of whether it's scrap or not. We also added under batteries. They used to just say auto and lawn. Now we've added truck and equipment batteries, which we're able to recycle. We've added recycled materials be disposed by the county in their proper facilities, just kind of duplicating that in this location. We also added radioactive materials as a list of that we do not take.
We shouldn't have to, but it's good to put it on there.
It is. Looking through some of the things that we were looking at, that was one of them that kind of stuck out that we didn't include and probably should have on there. We actually had somebody call and ask, so we said, well, it was on our notes to change. Do you all accept that? It's not on your list. So we added it. Thought it would be an easy pencil change.
Before you go on, don't smoke detectors have some sort of radiation capability?
Who's that now? I'm sorry?
Smoke detectors.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be included as far as this is actually materials. If you were to dispose of that, that would be considered a household waste. It's just like chemicals, you can dispose of Drano and those kind of things and throw them in the trash. It's considered household trash as long as it's coming from a residence.
So if my smoke detector at home breaks, I can just put it in the trash and throw it away.
That's correct.
But it does have some radioactive properties.
Some of them do, yes, sir.
Okay. And we're considering a small 1 or 2 is insignificant in the whole volume. Okay. Okay.
The other thing that we added in here that wasn't very specific was railroad ties or treated lumber with creosote. That is a hazardous waste, and we have to go through a lot to dispose of that. It's not as simple as we can't even carry that in our open top containers to the landfill. That it carries a separate bill of lading and everything as we transport that and dispose of that. Commercial tire disposal just gets into, you know, the maximum size that we'll accept, and clarifying also that if somebody were to bring in 4 tires, that the 4 tires have to be less than 36 inches. We're not going to take the big tractor trailer tires for free, which really gets into your commercial tires, not to residential. And then secondhand goods, we've changed and tried to re-identify some of that area, and to re-specify what's in there. During the discussion we had with Mr. Creasy, and I understand his point, was trying to allow citizens to be able to take any scrap metal that they might deem is something that they would want. For me to determine what's valuable to somebody else and what they could use it for is hard for me to do. What we've tried to do is, over the years, it's been a zero policy. No metal leaves the site at all. We've talked about that when we adopted this, about having a too good to throw away policy, to try to encourage recycling, to try to encourage the child's bicycle that somebody could use, or lawn equipment, things that somebody wants. And we've never really given that a good opportunity to work. So we think that's something that's important, as we tried listing that out. So we added push mowers. Actually, that was just added because we put the comma there to change that. Riding mowers, tillers we added. Hand tools, we added both power and just hand and power. And then fence posts were something that we thought could be added as well, that people typically would like to find if there's a fence post. So we tried to add a little bit there, but yet without naming every specific thing gets kind of hard, and still trying to maintain the standards that we have, for one, for our recycling requirements, and 2, for the financial impact to our budget. And then we just define the things that aren't in that aren't in recyclables that can't be used. So that's more of just to kind of clean up what we currently have. So I would recommend that the board approve that if there wasn't any questions on that particular page. Normally, I don't know if you want to handle these individually or
We're going to go through the whole thing.
okay. The second thing I want to talk about was storm debris. Typically, anytime there is a federal, state, or local emergency, we take storm debris of any size. We don't take stumps, but we take all other storm debris. We bring that in. We weigh that. There is a possibility we could get refunded from the state or feds during those kind of events. We did have the storm that came through and impacted some citizens in the Woodford area, the Bowling Green area, and Sparta area, where there was no local emergency. It was a very defined area, but yet we had a need in the county. So one of the things that we talked about is we expanded that ourselves from a staff level, of what we could take to exceed what was in the SOP for an extended period of time. We went through the end of last month to do that. The thing that really we got contractors wanting to dump at the facilities, and we do not allow contractors to dump that kind of debris. We heard quite a few complaints, so we just wanted to make sure that the board had an opportunity for us to talk to you to see how you wanted to handle that, if that's something you want to continue to do. We do have a concern that if we do a lot of burning, eventually we're going to have to start getting a permit through DEQ in order to do burning. Eventually we're going to have to end up grinding the material that comes in. We looked at other landfills and what they do. Most landfills don't accept some of this stuff anyhow. Most of them don't accept stumps. Somebody said, well, what about construction debris landfills? Well, they don't accept it either. It's not construction debris. They're trees. They haven't actually been put into kind of construction debris. The facilities that we've seen that do accept this generally charge between $40 and $50 a ton as they bring it in. It does change the way that we currently do our operation, as we would have to collect additional funds. Right now we only collect checks and accounts for tires over 36 inches at the facilities, and we'd have to change the way that we do that. And then we would be able to use that money to offset the cost of either burning or possibly grinding at some point, and then being able to offer mulch for sale in the future. So that's something we've kind of looked at, but it's not something we really want to do, but at the same time, if the board feels that they want to look at doing that, we're willing to move forward and look at that seriously if that's something the board would like to do.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Schiebel. As always, very thorough.
I've got one last page.
Oh, well. I take that back then.
Sorry. The last piece is actually through Mr. Creasy's discussions, trying to develop some type of a policy of how we would handle being able to allow citizens to kind of have a free-for-all to take the metal that's at the facility.
You don't even have to mention that part.
Okay.
So I bring back my good job, very thorough. I think the board sees metals and recyclables as county property, and since it helps our recycle goals and provides some cash benefit, kind of help defray the cost, I can't see the board saying we allow people to just pull metals away. So I don't.
I gotta.
On
I'm
the
gonna.
metal thing?
Yeah, like as far as I guess the concern, and I appreciate you meeting with us. I mean, I thought it was pretty productive. My understanding coming out of that meeting is that someone pulls up to the convenience site, and I have a lawnmower. Currently, I determine right now whether it's too good to throw away. Correct? As I'm disposing that lawnmower, I'm either going to put it in the too good to throw away pile, or I'm going to put it in a scrap metal pile. Correct?
That's correct, but staff could help determine, if you bring something in and say.
Well, okay, but I'm saying, I guess what I'm getting at, and this is from Mr. Creasy's perspective. So I guess what I'm saying is the person is determining right now where the lawnmower is going. So even though that lawnmower, so the next person with the same lawnmower, same issue, could put it in the too good to throw away pile. I think Mr. Creasy's argument was the fact that some of this isn't scrap metal. I mean, some of it is the stuff in the scrap metal pile. I guess my concern is if someone finds a wheel or something that they can use out of that pile, that's I understand the not for commercial use, I get that. But if there's something that is actually like he originally took out what? I mean, he took out some grinders,
Some brake rotors.
brake rotors that could be used. I mean, I wouldn't consider brake rotors that he used scrap metal. And so I guess what I'm getting at and trying to help him out is I can kind of understand that. My concern is here, like for example, he said he went down there today, and he said everything was taken out of that pile by 10 o'clock. Okay, so you've got down 2 to 7. What are you going to get out of that? I mean, I guess that's the question.
Right now, the way we've been operating the site to keep the sites free and clean, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we collect everything from the sites. Any tires that are there, any scrap metal.
Sure.
If this were to go into place, we would not collect metal on Monday. We would not collect it till Tuesday.
You would not collect it till Tuesday.
That way, right now, we try to get all the metal out of there for the weekend so that any influx that we get, and we try to get it out on Monday to make sure that the citizens have plenty of room to dispose of anything they have. So we would end up not collecting on Monday. We would wait till Tuesday from now on if the board were to choose to do that.
And I appreciate what you've done. I mean, I really do. I appreciate it. And listening to you hear both sides, my only concern is from 2 to 7. Is there a reason why we can't just say Monday?
We were trying to look to define an area so that we can hopefully have the least amount of impact on staff, because it is going to take more time for staff to, as people are coming in and out and trying to make sure that people are climbing through this metal pile in a safe manner. I mean, my employees are required to wear steel-toed shoes. They're required to wear gloves to handle this metal, and we're just going to allow citizens to come in and kind of have a free-for-all. So there's a concern of how that is, and somebody's going to have to kind of watch what they're doing to make sure it's safe, make sure they don't take, anything that's got refrigerant, air conditioners, and refrigerators, because we're responsible for the freon that's inside of those once they're on our site. So somebody's going to have to be kind of monitoring that. And without trying to impact staff's time any more than that, we were trying to limit that time. Again, that time, we can change that to anything that the board wishes. We were just trying to, how would we manage this from a staff if we had to do this?
I guess the question on I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here. If I'm picking up a lawnmower at the, scrap metal pile, it's a lawnmower, okay? Or I'm picking up a lawnmower at the too good to throw away pile, how is staffing like if I'm going there and I see the lawnmower in the too good to throw away pile, do you see what I'm saying? Is why all of a sudden do I need extra staffing when it's in the, in the scrap metal pile?
Again, it's more to make sure that they're doing it in a safe manner, that they're not climbing on top of the pile, and that they're not taking something they're not supposed to. As far as designating these things, we've already listed out those things that could go in the too good to throw away. I mean, the idea is not to put more burden on the staff to try to pick this stuff up and move it once the citizens dropped it off. And once it becomes you know, on the property in one pile, it becomes one. But, I mean, it's something that we could definitely have staff move those items that are specifically listed and put into too good to throw away. The idea is try to have staff direct someone, if they've got a lawnmower, saying, hey, you can put that over here, and then it can be moved one time and off of a vehicle instead of having to have it moved again.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Blackfield.
Yeah, I'm good for now.
I guess my concern is the fact that we have really, I think, created a lot of issues for people coming to the convenience sites, and especially the Ladysmith site. And I mention Ladysmith because it's small. There's not a lot of room in that space. It is probably one of the busiest sites in the entire county.
50% of
I
our
have
trash.
seen people backed up around the curve there, closer to Route 1 to get into the site. And here we're going to have people that could be getting into fights about, hey, I had that lawnmower first. No, I had my hand on that lawnmower first. And I think that we've allowed one person to come in here and talk about the fact, and to be honest with you, I don't know how many lawnmowers does he need repaired and how many carts does he need to fix. He lives in Lake Landau. Certainly they got some restraints in there as to having things sitting outside and what have you. I just don't know how many of these gadgets that he can put together where he needs all the scrap metal and all these wheels and all these lawnmowers and all the other stuff that he's getting. I think we've created an issue here for the rest of the people in the county to satisfy one man. And I have a concern with that. I really do.
Well, we do, on that note, we do have several people who have asked about the too good to throw away part. They've said I've been stopped by at least 3 or 4 different people at the landfill, different places, who've said we should do this. And I know we used to do that before.
Where are we going to put, like for instance, we talked about furniture. I think you indicated furniture.
And that's
Where
part
are we gonna
of,
put that?
I mean,
Where
that's
are
the
we
thing we
gonna
need to fix, because when we originally talked, I said, let's just do it at the Bowling Green site where it's big enough.
And you bring it there. I mean, I'm
And
in
if-
agreement with that
if-
because
If you got a sofa in Ladysmith or whatever, you drive it over to Bowling Green, drop it off. I don't know whether that'll happen or not, but if they drop it off, they're going to drop it off somewhere. If they drop it off at the Ladysmith site, then we transport it, whatever. Somehow we got to fix that.
Localities north and south of us actually have one drop-off location. They don't accept some of that debris or items at their smaller sites.
And we've got more space than we can use at the Bowling Green site. So let's make that the central repository. Let's at least try it some sort of way. I'm still, I'm not going to use brake rotors from somebody else. I don't care what you do. I mean,
I don't believe he intended to put them on a vehicle.
I don't know, but I like my car to stop.
What do you do with
when
it?
I like my car to stop when I ask it to stop.
One
So,
man's junk is another man's treasure.
and, I mean, you could have used them for anything.
I have
you
no
could use-
idea.
That's not for us to judge what you use them for, but our position is the metal belongs to the county once you come in the gate. I can't stop him if he sits outside the gate and says, hey, you got any metal for me? I can't stop that. But once you come in the gate, that's our metal for our recycling program, period.
Can I ask a question? Maybe I'm rewording it differently. So someone comes in metal, bicycle. The person comes in with a bicycle, and one person puts it in a person comes in, they put a mountain bike that they don't want anymore in the scrap metal pile. Now, to you and me, I remember you were talking about before, we were talking about this years ago, about that bicycle, someone else who doesn't have a lot of money.
You've never owned a bicycle somebody else had, I can tell. I have. I have.
But the point is, if someone wants that bicycle, now if it's in that scrap metal pile, they can't get it.
But see, that's a small thing. I think that's something staff can do since they're there directed. You got a bicycle, put it over there in the too good to throw away. If it stays there for a week, we're going to throw it in the junk pile. That's all we have to do. It's not like that. I could fix a bicycle pretty much out of 2 sticks. But if that's what we need to do, we can do. That gives kids a chance to have to do something like that. That's all the whole purpose was. If you bring a bicycle in that you think is junk, then when you bring it into the attendant will say, oh, we've got a list of things, bicycle, I'll put it over here, it stays over there for a week, whatever. Then if nobody takes it, it's junk.
But are you not putting more work on staff? The exact argument that's being used here is why we shouldn't do this, though. are you not putting more, the arguments used, you're putting too much work on staff, but now you're talking about that bicycle, now we're putting work on staff to move the bicycle, so it's the same thing.
Okay, now I actually regularly go to the dump site, and the dump site, part of the standard operating procedures says that the attendant may help you unload your trash. Is that right?
If you're asked.
Okay.
We've got one attendant that does an outstanding job, and I wish we could
She is
mandate.
fantastic.
Actually, this is actually on another site. I mean, I literally get 3
What is
calls.
her name again?
Mr. Samuels is his name.
Oh,
and
you're not talking about the one at the...
I literally get 3 calls a week easily, and I forward to Mr. Cully, and it goes in his file from people just saying they're so happy that somebody will actually help him, and they've told me that they've had people that have actually said, I've been told I can't help, and that's not the case. Basically, we had in there originally for all of the attendants to assist. There was some of the current employees that didn't particularly like that, so the board was amenable to allowing them if someone were to ask. We've got signs that we're getting ready to make to put on each of the compactors. If you need help, please ask. So that way at least there's something there to help prompt them. But we've got one guy that's outstanding. He helps, at first he starts with the elderly, then he goes to the women and helps anybody else that's in between, and does a great job. And I can tell you, I've been here for 20 years, and I've never received so many compliments on any employee, let alone from a trash site. Generally, when you get a call, people call and complain about the trash site. That's what I get most of my phone calls on. Since we put this manual in place, I mean, my call volume that I get, maybe once a month, we get somebody that calls and said I had a problem compared to weekly. So, this has been a great tool for us.
But that's exactly what's going to happen is you'll have this tool. When Mr. Black comes in with his mountain bike that he thinks is no good, you are going to retrain your people and say, when you see these things, this is where you put them.
Now, do you want to do that at all the sites or just the Bowling Green site?
Well, I think let's try it at Bowling Green first, since that's the biggest place, and if there's a lot of...
So right now, currently, we've got furniture, electronics, including TVs, radios, microwaves.
Everything you have here listed.
Toys.
Yes.
Lawn equipment, push mowers, riding mowers, weed eaters, chainsaws, rototillers, hand tools, power tools, and fence posts.
And there's plenty of stuff at the Bowling Green site to handle all that, or space.
So we'll do that at the Bowling Green site?
We'll do it at the Bowling Green site and start.
That's
the too good to throw away thing.
They're still able to take metal to the individual.
To all the sites,
Right.
we'll collect that, but citizens won't be able to get that.
And you'll get some more signage that says if you have items that you consider too good to throw away, you can deposit those at the Bowling Green site.
Okay.
We can move on from there. We'll find a new place for Mr. Creasy. I'll probably see him at the Bowling Green site, and we'll go from there. All right? You got stumps and things now.
Question.
Sure.
The number one I've gotten, and I've talked to Mr. Cully, construction debris. Bricks, cinder block, and lumber. Some days it's got to be 2 feet long. Some days they don't take it. We've got to come up with some kind of policy because this stuff is, when somebody gets it on their vehicle, on their trailer, it's going someplace. And they keep being told that we don't take it.
We're not licensed for it.
We do not take construction debris from contractors that are being paid to dispose of that debris. From a resident, we do take it in small amounts, 4 foot and less, and it must be in a 55-gallon drum container, trash bag, or smaller of the amounts that we take. Now, if you've got untreated wood will take as much as that as you want now. That can go into the burn pile and be disposed of through there. But if you have treated wood, the treated wood's cut down to a 4 foot length and put into the open top containers. Plywood, same thing. If it's untreated, which most plywood that we see coming in is untreated, but you do see some that's treated. But the treated would be 4 foot by 4 foot and go into an open top box. We can't burn that.
I'd just like to see us put something up because I've got 3 or 4 people that regularly call me with all this stuff.
Let's take what we have now and have you look at, construction debris and, again, just bring that back to us.
Do you want to do construction debris for commercial? Right now it's not designed for commercial, so it's been residential.
Are we permitted to do that?
We can take small amounts. We get hauling too much, and then we have to start hauling that to a construction debris landfill.
Which I gotta pay for.
right, we would have to pay for. Currently, we haul it to a solid waste facility that disposes of residential
So
household
what
trash.
happens to shingles and all those kinds of stuff?